Emotional and psychological harm that is a consequence of actual traumatic physical injury is always recoverable. Claimants will normally recover for consequential psychological harm under the category of pain and suffering or loss of amenity. Loss of amenity essentially means loss of enjoyment in life. Such a loss of enjoyment may be occasioned by many cases, such as loss of limb, but it will also cover emotional and psychological harm that results from a traumatic physical injury. Those who are involved in traumatic situations may suffer psychiatric illness in one of three distinct categories. Number one, they suffer physical injury and leads to physical harm. In the incident involved in the accident and is favorably treated. It is sufficient for a primary victim to show that they were physically injured or that they were in danger or reasonably believe themselves to be in danger of a physical injury, and it is not necessary to show that psychiatric injury as such was foreseeable, as laid out in Page versus Smith. Third is secondary victims. A secondary victim suffers psychiatric injury not through any physical impact but through witnessing an event that causes or threatens death or serious injury to someone else. The principles are derived from two decisions of the House of Lords. Number one, McLaughlin O'Brien, and number two is Alcock. Alcock is a leading case which sets out the criteria which secondary victims must satisfy in order to be regarded as foreseeable victims to whom a duty of care is owed. Number one, close tie of love and affection. The claimant must be in close and loving relationship with the primary victim. In the case of parents and children and spouses, this is presumed. In other cases, it must be established. Number two is proximity in time and space. The claimant must have perceived the events or their aftermath with their own unaided senses. It is not enough to be told about it later. The notion of the aftermath derives from McLaughlin, where Mr. M saw relatives in the same state as they had been in after the accident. Number three is the means by which the shock is caused. The claimants must have suffered through an immediate, certain impact on their senses. The first successful claim in England for damages for negligently inflicting psychiatric injury was in Delu versus White. Although not physically injured, she was badly frightened, and this resulted in premature birth of her child. She experienced a real and immediate fear for her own safety, and she was entitled to recover damages without the need for physical impact.